Shedeur Sanders under pressure, bounces, takes his time, does it. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Jinty, good cutback, lots of room. He's 40, like a rocket. Look at Jinty go, breaks a tackle. He's 20, he's 10, he's touchdown. 58 yards.
Cook, end zone,
Caught, touchdown. Luther Burden the third, and Missouri strikes back.
All right, what's going on, guys? It's Zach again. It's been a while, but I'm back with Chris and Andrew. I know they did a pod yesterday or the day before, losing track of time, but I wanted to jump on. I had some free time and talk with these guys, but how are you guys doing?
Better now, Zach. You said, hey, guys, again, and it's like, when was the last time? We're jumping into this. Why not, Zach?
Yeah.
When was the last pod appearance you made? Not to call you up, but just out of curiosity.
Andrew and I did one. Was it like a month
in December,
ago?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about a month ago.
November, December, something like that.
Yeah. It's just been real busy. And actually right now, I don't know if you guys know, we're pretty much snowed in here. And in Mississippi, you don't get a lot of snow. So when you do get snow, it pretty much shuts everything down.
Yep.
So it's actually probably the worst snow and ice we've had, I could say, in a long time. So
nice.
You
Well,
know,
it worked out in everybody's favor. Brett
right.
gets the double dosage of BTR this week. So very nice. All
right. Well, I don't want to rehash all the stuff you guys talked about the other day, or I guess it was yesterday, wasn't it? I guess that's when it went live.
Depends on when you push this live, Zach.
You recorded it 2 days ago. It went live yesterday. Okay. But I don't want to go over the same things. So
are you drinking already, Chris?
That was like a seltzer, like a non-seltzer. I do, but
that looked like a White Claw. Oh, you got Creature Comforts and a White Claw. You're double fisting.
No, that wasn't a White Claw.
Yeah, okay. I know my aluminum cans when I see them.
Nice. I know you guys talked TJ Finley, but he had just gone in the portal, and I know there's been kind of news about him going to Western Kentucky. I feel like that's pretty cool. How do you guys feel about that?
Andrew, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I think most people have it wrong. I've only seen, I forget who it was. It was
Thor mentioned Thor made a mention of where he
Thor's,
would put him.
Thor I think is wrong. Proton doesn't have it right. One dude, I forget who, commented on and basically talked about on one of the tweets how garbage Austin Reed was this year after the string of successful and really innovative offensive coordinators kind of left and all went to different places, and now they're stuck with this dude Drew Hollingshead, like from the Mike Leach tree. He's just trying to run like some like standard air raid stuff, and it feels kind of stale. It feels not very innovative, and I don't know. You watched that offense last year, Western Kentucky, and it didn't seem like it worked very well. It was, I don't know. It just kind of felt like it should have been better when you've got two guys who were going in the first rounds of college fantasy leagues in Reed and Corley, and like other guys flashed on that team too. Yeah, they were like on the greener side. Yeah, the pass catchers dealt with injuries generally speaking, but I didn't see anything at all from a system, from a coaching perspective that impressed me. And I think we had good reason to expect, like, Reed was talented enough in conjunction with Corley to carry that offense and put up really nice numbers. And most weeks they really disappointed. And I think that if we just try to imprint and impress rock star numbers on Finley based on the outcomes that we saw in Western Kentucky offense in 21, 22, 2021, 2022, I think that's misguided. I would, if I'm TJ Finley and I'm just trying to find like and follow like the previous year's production, stuff like that, like why not go to Washington State where the actual good play caller from 2022 Western Kentucky is, and like you can go vibe with him. That room is so wide open. Like they've got Nate's boy John Mateer, but like that doesn't feel like it's gonna stick leading up to the season. I'm sure they're still in the market for a quarterback. So I would have liked to see Finley go there and actually work with like a play caller that we know is innovative in a room that doesn't have a lot of competition. Now he walks into like, great, dude. Now you gotta go compete with that guy Caden Veldkamp who looked awesome in the bowl game. So I think it's a pretty bad decision all around for Finley, and like I'm not overly optimistic for fancy purposes going into the year.
So the tweet you guys are referencing was that he would be a top 10 CFF pick this summer.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to say, if not top 10, you don't agree with that, but where would you say he should go then, if that's where the landing spot is?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I would draft him in like the top 20, top 30 rounds because I'm not even sure he wins the job. So,
yeah, I would say my initial reaction was I don't even think he's like a top 10 quarterback. I perceive that as a top 10 pick, like overall, which means he's like QB2, or worst case 3. I would probably, under the assumption that he wins the job, I would put him around like 18 to 23 in terms of quarterback. And that's obviously like he wins the job. To be fair, I think he wins the job, but it's a lot of what Andrew says, right? Like I haven't been encouraged by the play calling, right? Like it used to be, Western Kentucky's play calling and their style is going to really push the quarterback out of no matter what the talent level is to CFF stardom. And we saw that in year 1, but they just have like rotated offensive coordinators, and then they landed on like the one that is like still there is just not to the same level. Reed by Jared's numbers at C2C like is like quarterback 17, but that's like a little bit skewed because it's just he played every game. So let's say he's quarterback 20. If Austin Reed is quarterback 20, am I really like on a per game basis? Am I really thinking TJ Finley is like better? Maybe he's a little bit worse. Like, I don't know how you could draft him higher than quarterback 15 with the amount of options is insane. Like I did this way too early mock with Jared. Sorry, buddy. I just took Jalen Milroe and he's like the last quarterback taken. So he's like quarterback 24. So like, how would you like, I don't know how you take TJ Finley, a guy that was unsuccessful for many years. Now he goes to a worse offense than Texas State. He's not all that great, and the play calling is sketchy. I don't know how you take him top 15 for QBs. That's just kind of where in agreement with Andrew.
Right. So just for reference, I'm using our Dynasty League stats for just a reference. The number 20 quarterback was Chandler Rogers. 19 was Cam Ward. So if you're going to put him in that ballpark, like I still don't think he'd be better than those two guys.
I would put him there if he went to Washington State, right?
Like, right.
Mateer, by the way, John Mateer sounds like a statue, 6'5", 220 quarterback, like Sean Mannion. I have no idea. I've never seen him.
Oh, he's like I think he's got talent with his legs, and like the arm is the question.
And Austin Reed was 21st, just for
per game basis.
This is total fantasy points. So I guess this also includes the bowl game.
Probably.
So,
it probably includes the bowl game.
But still, it's pretty.
You get the idea.
Yeah, you get the idea. So
it's funny that Ward and it sounds like Ward and Reed pretty much were dead even in terms of total fantasy points, which kind of just absolutely blow torches part of my argument, right? It's funny, like I guess the reality doesn't quite meet the perception in terms of how that's played out, but I don't know.
You could argue that Corley was their best receiver and he's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like and Reed at Western Kentucky provided some value on the ground. I think it was like 4 touchdowns and 100 yards rushing. Like, what is TJ Finley's rushing upside? Like, it can't be much, right?
Probably negative.
Right? I don't see him scoring but like 1 or 2 random touchdowns. If he breaks even, that's probably a win. So that's a significant amount of points.
So I'll just give you the stats. So he had 81 yards on 78 attempts and 5 touchdowns. TJ Finley. So
So he's not as bad as I made it, but I don't know. I was shocked. I mean, think about the names that you're putting over Finley putting Finley over if you put him top 10 pick. I mean, it's insane.
right, top 10. Yeah, you're no chance. Now, I don't know anything about it, so you guys tell me. Washington's pretty much depleted, right? I know you talk about Washington State, but Washington's quarterback room is pretty much wiped, right?
They're gonna get the kid from Arizona, like the true freshman. Demon Williams, who's supposed to he lit up one of the All-Star games, and then they've got some other 4-star who was committed to DeBoer, who hasn't transferred yet, but presumably he'll transfer. So yeah, they've got like nothing on the shelf.
Yeah, entire offense is like gone. There was like it went a little bit viral how like everybody on the depth chart was gone.
Right. I was looking at your dynasty roster, Zach, because I thought that it would just be me and you doing this for obvious reasons, because Chris showed up with 5 seconds before we recorded. And Jonah Coleman, Fantrax already has a Washington logo for him, and he hasn't all he's done is enter the portal.
Really?
Yeah. There's no everyone kind of thinks he might go there, but like not even the recruiting sites are like doing.
I just saw that now. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on a minute. It's Daquan Finn to Baylor. That sucks.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at my team. Like, what is this my roster?
You think that sucks? Your team looked way better than I expected when I pulled up. I was ready to rip it to shreds.
I think it sucks compared to being at Toledo.
Who'd they hire? Were they the team that fell for the Spavital grift this year? Was their turn? Did they hire Jake Spavital?
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
It could work for a little bit. I'm sure that the season will crash and burn, but like maybe for the first half of the year, it could be okay.
Yeah. Baylor got him. Spavital. Yeah. So I guess that's interesting though. Jonah Coleman with the Washington logo.
It looks cool. I love seeing all the new logos on Fantrax. Like after my players transfer somewhere, like seeing the Boise one next to Malachi is sweet.
Yeah, and like some of these other ones, like I didn't even realize they moved. But again, I've been kind of in and out on news. But
the consistency of like the logo changes and stuff is so weird. Mm-hmm. They've done it for a lot of guys. They've jumped the gun on some. I was looking at it for this way too early draft, and I was just like looking through players. Like Colin Lacey is going to Louisville, right?
Correct.
And then like Penny Boone is going to Louisville. They're like 2 spots away in this league. When I was looking at like flex players, they have different logos, but they're both Cardinals. They have like Penny Boone actually has Louisville's logo, but Lacey has Ball State's Cardinal logo. I was like, surely he didn't go South Alabama to
Ball State.
And I was like, that can't be right. Like I'm pretty sure. And then sure enough, so like, yeah, the consistency is pretty funny with what they're doing, but I don't know. We're beholden to pretty much one site.
Yeah. And the team names aren't updating either. I don't understand what's going on with their like data tables and shit. Like they've got some funky things, but I mean,
it's weird because like Aiden Childs transferred to Michigan State. I feel like a long time ago, and they haven't changed his logo yet. So I don't know. I don't know. And it actually says it in the little, news bio. So it's not like it's up in the air. Anyway, just that's interesting though.
Zach, what do you think about TJ Finley?
Well, I guess I liked where he was at. Texas State was kind of a nice place for him to be, and it looked like he kind of turned things around. Like now you're leaving to go to another new offense than when you're not really that talented in the first place. Like I feel like you stay. I guess he just felt like he wasn't going to win that job. With Delores coming in, right? Isn't that who's coming in?
He did that like weird in and out portal dance.
Yeah.
Would you have? Okay. What do you like more, JDL at Texas State or Finley at Texas State? Like, assuming both would be the starter in the scenario, which would you prefer?
Probably JDL. I mean, that's probably who I would pick, but I don't
For
know.
sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's the mentality of it all. Like, you were the starter. You had a really pretty good year. Like, there's nothing to say you should lose your job, but yet you feel like you're losing your job, so you leave.
I don't blame him.
I mean, it's today's college football, I guess. I'm not going to go into all that, but it feels like when you were that threatened that you were losing your job, that you bounced as soon as he transferred in. Like, I don't know. But I guess you can't wait to see who wins the job, then transfer, because you don't have 5 more years of eligibility. So I get it. But yeah, I guess it'll work for him. At Western Kentucky, I guess there's always the chance that he could be really good, but I'm not holding my breath for it. So, a guy I wanted to ask you about, Cam Ward. I brought him up earlier. Transferred to Miami. How do you guys feel about him? You don't love it in Miami. It's better in Washington.
Fine. It's fine. It's definitely better at Washington State.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, Miami's offense was fairly productive, like, at times, right? Like, so it's probably not the worst, but this feels like just such a deep quarterback class that I can't imagine he's like in the top, for me, top 20 to 25. So it's so crazy, the quarterback, any rankings right now. It's just like, everything is so fluid, but
I was
20
listening
to 25
to you guys pod yesterday. I was listening to it, and I was like, it's something I wanted to kind of talk about today, was the way the portal has changed college fantasy in general. Like, in dynasty leagues, like, you have a good team. Let's say you're like, man, I finished third. My team's all coming back next year. It's gonna be great. And then half your team hits the portal. Now, some might turn out better, some might turn out worse. But like you were saying, I think it was you, Chris, that you were saying, like, your team has done like a roller coaster of like, I had a bad situation, then it became good all of a sudden, and overnight it was like, holy shit, I got to get.
I mentioned Caden Veldkamp as like this guy that went up and down and up and down, and it went down again with this Finley news. Like, literally in the 48 hours from recording or whatever it was, recording to this, he literally was like, man, Veldkamp is going to be like a weekly guy for me. And now he's probably not going to win the job. He's going to be tight end eligible by week 5.
Yeah, I've been looking at your team, Chris. I haven't pulled yours up in a while.
I don't have it. This is a different dynasty.
No, I know.
I'm very running back heavy in our dynasty league, in our original league.
Oh, your quarterbacks kind of suck.
Tyler Shuck and
Bert Emanuel.
Like, I don't know. Bert Emanuel could be cool. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, you got Griffiths and Braden Locke.
Let's not talk about it. The listeners don't need to hear about this.
I'm just looking at this for the first time in a while. So interesting. All right. Okay. Well, I'll jump back onto the Milroe thing, Chris. You want to talk about Milroe? How do you?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just curious, like there was some C2C slacking last night. And I thought, just what a crazy turn of a month, right? Like, from a top 5 Heisman contender for next year to, like, I took him as like the 24th quarterback in this fantasy draft. Like, I don't know. It feels crazy to me. I don't know. I have this impression or this idea that, like, if you're a good college coach like DeBoer is, you take a guy that took a team to the Rose Bowl, and you can, like, make lemonade with it. But it feels like some people think, well, hey, square peg, round hole, that it's not possible. So I was curious your guys' thoughts on, like, how valid do you think that is? Like, do you think DeBoer can make his offense work for a guy like him? We've kind of touched on it. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but now just Alabama's evolving. Like, every single day, it feels like something's changing. So, and Zach, you're here. So I was curious, maybe Zach, you tell me, like, what do you think first?
Well, what I noticed watching Washington was Penix was really good down the field. And Milroe, if I remember correctly, was actually pretty good down the field. Like, it was the short intermediate stuff that he wasn't great at. But, like, you give him something running down the field, he was pretty decent at it. And I feel like you said with DeBoer, if you have that kind of offense, you can make that player work. He may not be Michael Penix. I don't think anybody's expecting him to be Michael Penix,
right.
But right now, everybody's transferring out anyway. Who else you got that's going to come in right away and be the best option? Like I feel like Milroe could actually be a better passer. Like his running ability might suffer actually because they don't want him doing that. But you're going to use what you got, and they're, until you get the guy you want. But Andrew,
You said, Chris, that he went like as the second to last quarterback in that draft.
The last quarterback in the draft, yeah.
That feels crazy. There's only one. The only way he doesn't pay off that price or going even like significantly earlier, right, is if he just gets benched during the year, right? If he starts for DeBoer's offense, even if the offense looks different, you figure he runs enough that he kind of crushes it from a fantasy perspective. Maybe he gets bad vibes, even though like it's from like what sounds like, right, he wants to be at Bama, but he gets the vibe that's just he's not gonna be the guy. Maybe he transfers out into an awesome fit. It feels like if you were just kind of like play out the progression of the year, there's a lot of ways that pick pays off, and I don't know. The only way it really doesn't, I think, is if he gets benched mid-year. I like it. I mean, I think it could be a lot different than it could look different and be bumpy at parts than we might expect. But I think that like there's of course very real upside, and I think that it could hit through a variety of ways.
Well, I feel like we've come on here a few years ago and talked about Jalen Hurts the same way. Like Jalen Hurts had all this athletic ability, and he was not a great passer. Well, then he goes to Oklahoma, and you're like, okay, this guy might win the freaking Heisman, right? Oh, he does. So, like, not to say that Jalen Milroe is going to win the Heisman, but he was a Heisman contender, like you said, Chris. Like 2 weeks ago, left in the season. Like you're talking about Milroe. Like when they beat Auburn by the skin of their teeth, everybody was talking about, oh, Milroe, he might be in the running for the Heisman. We all knew Penix was a better quarterback, even though Jaden Daniels won it. Milroe was still up there. That doesn't just go away. Like that ability just doesn't go away.
Yeah, I think you made a good point, Zach, in that like Milroe seemingly has a great deep ball. Like I don't know the numbers and percentages and blah, blah, blah. But like just from watching, right? Like his best throws seem to be the deep ball. Andrew makes a great point. Like he's still going to run enough, right? Like it's not like
it's not going away.
You don't have to have designed runs to make yourself have value with the running game, right? There can be short yardage touchdowns. There can be scrambles. And then ultimately it's like, if he starts, this is a good coach. Like I think the argument is like maybe, hey, there's literally there's nobody left on Bama, but I just can't see that. Like if you think Milroe's not going to be great or really good in fantasy, then you should bet the under on Alabama, because like they're not going to win 9-10 games with like bad, with the skill players like that. So like just bet the under, because it's just not going to happen. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing. And it may be another question that's good to follow up on this is like, where do we fall with like square pegs, round holes? Like, is there a level of like, if you're a good coach, like there is a little bit of like a stopping point of like, well, that's just not going to work with your talent, or like a really talented quarterback. It's just not going to work with this coach type of thing.
My thoughts are a really good coach can get what he can out of the guy, even if it's not the guy he really wants. He get the best out of him for that system until he gets the guy that he wants. But Andrew,
I mean, I agree. I think that it is a point in your favor if you mold your system kind of around your talent. I do think we have to be kind of cognizant of those situations potentially when we're thinking about making draft picks, especially like a quarterback, right? Like you're potentially introducing variance where you don't necessarily need to. Where you don't necessarily need to, I think, is if in this case, right, with Melrose, if you're spending like a top 20 QB pick on him, well, I think you can easily break ties in favor of others. But like if his price tag is dropping as a result of kind of all the vibes we're getting and stuff like that, then of course it becomes easier.
That's fair. Anything else to add to Milroe? Okay. I want to put you guys kind of on the spot here. There's been a lot of transfers, a lot of big names moving and some mediocre names moving. I guess I'll ask it this way. Which is your favorite transfer that's happened so far, whether it's for entertainment purposes or CFF purposes, whatever your favorite transfer, and what is your least favorite transfer? And I'll start. Just
you start, because on the spot, to mark a favorite like that is
yeah. So I'll start with my least favorite, and the one that I feel like it's just going to be a disaster, is Riley Leonard at Notre Dame. I think he had it made at Duke, and I thought that, like, not that he's going to be bad at Notre Dame. I just feel like his skill set won't be used like it was at Duke. And I feel like that's going to be, I don't know, like Hartman worked out okay, I guess. It was fine. But Riley Leonard, I feel like he was such like a dual threat at Duke that I don't think he's going to be that for Notre Dame. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Notre Dame's weird because they like never really have like, for the most part, they don't have like the superstar insane receiver, player. Every now and then we get one that pops out of nowhere, right? Which is great. But like, it is an interesting group. They're so tight end focused, but they don't really have a tight end. It doesn't feel like. So I certainly won't be on Riley Leonard all that much, to be honest, but so I can get behind that one for sure.
That's just one of the bigger names that moved that I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. It took Jaden Daniels until year 2 with this OC to kind of be unleashed. Right. Notre Dame is trying their best to make offensive moves. Like that. It doesn't frustrate me that this happens, that players get pulled into the portal by teams, but it frustrates me how annoyingly pompously Notre Dame does it, where like that multiple times now, the kid enters the portal, puts a do not call tag on his portal entry, and everyone knows he's going to Notre Dame because they offered the kid a bunch of money. Have you seen this shit with Ricky White?
No.
Yeah. So he, like within the last month, stated he's going to like remain at what is it? UNLV. Everyone's stoked. And rumors start coming out that Notre Dame's offering him $250K to go into the portal. He's getting $60K at UNLV, and like boosters and normal people are trying to just make up enough of the difference where he won't, where like he will continue to want to stay at UNLV, and it's very much in flux presently. But it annoys me how much Notre Dame flaunts like that and just throws caution to the wind with it. It'd be cool if maybe not cool, maybe that's not the right word, but NCAA brought the hammer down on Florida State for some NIL shit. Like, how are you not gonna like do the same for Notre Dame when they repeatedly like aren't even trying to be a little bit of cautious with it? But I don't know where Riley Leonard projects to go in drafts. Like, I can't say I'm super interested. I feel like you could probably drum up a decent argument for him just based on how much he uses his legs. But if he's like going in top 10, 12 rounds, I would pass I think.
So can I give you my favorite transfer?
Yeah.
No.
It's probably pretty obvious, right?
Malachi Nelson.
Yeah. Like
by the way, you have one of the coolest transfers and the coolest non-transfer. I think Ashton Jeanty is the coolest non-transfer out there. The fact that he probably could have gone almost essentially anywhere
Mm-hmm.
and he stayed at Boise. I think that's the coolest non-transfer. But yeah, go ahead on Malachi.
I can jump on Genty for a second. So I'm wondering if a lot of what Genty's thought process was like, Boise's put a lot of running backs in the NFL, like over the last 5-10 years or so. And he's like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing here, I'm going to the NFL. I don't have to go play at Alabama to do that. Like, I'm gonna get run. I'm gonna be, my stats are gonna be obnoxious. So it makes sense why you would stay. It's not like he's playing in like obscure. Let's say he was playing at South Alabama, right? Like, not a lot of people even going to see him.
UNLV.
Well,
right.
It's
like,
yeah.
Who's been coming out of UNLV?
Yeah. So it makes sense to stay. But I was actually shocked he stayed. But I'm thinking the Malachi news probably like solidified it. He's like, you know what? Let's run it back with a quarterback.
Oh, he did the old hashtag run it back?
Oh, you know what? He may have. I just kind of made
I think he did.
I think he may have. He's something along those lines. But it puts a hold on Breezy for another year. But that's okay. That's okay. We can.
I think he'll get run.
He'll get run.
Games.
Definitely.
I'm very interested in taking him later in drafts. Just something happens to Genty and like, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If Genty goes down, then it's like this. Dunbar seems pretty cool. So
yeah. Totally.
I'm with you. My least favorite is probably, I don't know. This is gonna be very mainstream. Probably Quinshon Judkins. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. What a drastic drop in like value. Like,
right.
He was a top 2 or 3 pick last year. Is he a top even 3 or 4 round pick this year? Like, I already have a don't draft Ohio State flex players rule, so. It's a pretty weird. I mean,
and then the Henderson news, if he's returning, it's just like,
well, if he would have gone to Ohio State and Henderson's gone, like that's incredible, right? That's awesome. But
right,
Henderson was already essentially coming back, so it's kind of a bummer. So.
It's like the next day that they put out the news. Oh yeah, he's returning. And you're like, okay, that's great for their team, but for us, it sucks. Anyway, Andrew.
Oh man, I'm scouring for a least favorite, and I don't.
We know your most favorite. We know your most favorite.
So I was gonna preface with, we talked a lot about Chandler Morris to North Texas, Sluka to UNLV, and JDL to Texas State. So I won't just cop out and go with one of those. I got real good under the radar ones. You already mentioned him, and Zach has his counterpart or his receiver on his Dynasty team too. I am interested in what's going on at Marshall coming into this year with Griffiths coming in and Elijah Metcalf going there. Did you know that they're going like super pass heavy? Did you see this?
No.
Yeah. They hired Seth Dagey as their OC, and like all the incoming, or maybe not all, but like some of the like incoming transfers in like their caption or whatever, like they're talking about air raid and shit. Like, and they brought in a few different receivers because like that there's a lot of turnover there. But did you watch any Middle Tennessee this year?
No.
Metcalf is good, man.
Just enough to get pissed at Holden Willis for hitting overs.
Metcalf is super slippery. I think he's like perfect slot receiver. Target him 10 plus times a game in an air raid offense, and like let him do.
I think I watched him once, and he's like tiny, but it's perfect.
Yeah, but he's good too. Like I don't know what. Maybe I'm more interested in him than Griffiths, I guess, because like I just don't know if Griffiths is gonna do enough or anything like with his legs.
Less risk going Metcalf. Less risk.
Yeah, I think Metcalf could be fun though.
Is he a return guy too? I think he is.
Maybe
not that that's a huge deal, but he popped for
Jalen Lane was, albeit Virginia Tech's offense wasn't anything that special, but like. He had plenty of games where he was valuable. He got a little dinged up, but
Metcalf's at Marshall now. That's what
I know, but I'm just saying Lane was successful in transferring to VT. I would call what Lane did at VT a successful year. Like Metcalf going to Marshall, like to me, especially if they go air raid, I would consider that. I mean, you just boosted his ADP by like 12 rounds, but
I know.
That feels like
I'm ruining all my early Champion Series equity. Least favorite, can I go with Eli Holstein? I was kind of excited for the Nate Yarnell era. I thought it was kind of fun watching that dude. even though the offense is lame, they brought in like a fun and exciting FCS coordinator, right? And I thought that we saw enough from Yarnell, like using his arm, using his legs, being a bigger dude, but not being not he'll just throw his body around like in a non-Nard dog like offense. I was kind of interested in seeing how that would play out, but I'm sure they're just going to let the Alabama kid win the job and not be good. So that's one of my least favorites.
Typical Andrew fashion. He hates a transfer because it ruins somebody else. Not like a great player goes somewhere, but and I'm gonna, Zach, you're here, so I got to prop you up and make sure you come back. I think one of the, there's plenty of really good transfers. I think a lot of them make sense. Andrew touched on some, and Dylan Gabriel to Oregon is super cool. Like, what a great left-handed version. It's like Bo Nix in a mirror type thing. But I think Cam Camper to Boise is an awesome transfer. I think we wanted Brent Strahan or whatever to be cool. He's seemingly a big play guy and, probably about it for the time being. But Cam Camper was valuable at Indiana when healthy. And Boise's got a tradition of just pumping targets towards a receiver one. And if I remember correctly, Cam Camper is pretty tall, lanky, good target. So I will be on board Cam Camper 100% this year.
You don't think Austin Bolt's going to take targets?
Dude, that dream died 1 knee surgery and 2 years ago.
Oh, I figured you'd like that. No, I was excited with that too. Honestly, I remember reading, I don't remember, it was one of the Boise writers, and they were talking about only if we could just get some receivers in the portal. And it was literally the next day Camper committed. I thought, I'm wondering if he knew or he just lucked out and that happened. But I think that's great. Honestly, I think Strawn's good. That's how you pronounce his name, by the way. Strawn.
Strawn.
No, I think he's good. He was a true freshman last year, and I actually went to the Memphis Boise game, and he is. You remember who was the guy they had? Boldivine back years ago. Some guy. He was their deep threat. That's all they did. They ran in deep. Anyway, Geraldo Boldivine. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
He kind of looks like him, just more athletic. So he's got the deep ball, but he can also run the short slants, which I think is interesting at being 6'5". So, Camper, man, I think Camper's gonna be great, but I don't want to harp on Boise too much because I'll talk about the guy who left Boise though, Taylon Green, going to Arkansas. I think it could be okay. I mean, I don't think he's gonna be better than KJ Jefferson, but I don't know. We'll see. KJ
this is an interesting, I don't know. This whole scenario is really interesting because KJ 2 seasons ago was super productive, right?
Right.
From CFF. Mm-hmm. Last year, shit hit the fan. He was hurt, seemingly. It just was a bad situation. Rocket was hurt, so he didn't have any help. But Taylon Green is 2.0 KJ Jefferson, right? So do we like Taylon Green or dislike him? Is any of this based on KJ Jefferson? Is the fact that they're essentially kind of the same player? Does that help us project it? I'm in this weird spot where I feel like it would be a good player to pick. I'm curious where he'll go in drafts. It feels like we could get some nice value on it.
You need to throw out Jefferson's 2023 season because it happened under Danny Nose as the OC, right? As opposed to production that we saw previously. Petrino is the OC at Arkansas now, right? You can imagine a sales pitch. It's dude, I coached Lamar Jackson in those seasons. So, yeah. But I don't really understand Petrino's OC style. I just don't get it because you take out the Lamar Jackson years, it feels like all he wants to do is do not kind of boring pocket passer type stuff. I don't understand what his system is.
He's what DeBoer needs to be, a guy that can mold to his athletic talents.
You think that someone needs to actually be like Bobby Petrino? I
think Kalen DeBoer needs to be like Petrino
okay.
From a football being.
Yeah, that feels possible. I don't know if it's just I don't know.
I just feel like Taylor Green can't throw the ball, and that's a bit of a problem.
Certainly possible.
He can flat out fly. There's no doubt about it. The guy can pull away from defenders. Like, he's fast. Like, he's not quick, but when he gets a full head of steam, there's not people really catching him. So I guess I don't want to compare him to Lamar because that's stupid. Lamar was shifty, but then he also pulled away from people. Like,
yeah, I think he was fast and then he was super fast.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna break this thing off the rails here.
Mhm.
Is there a certain age where you say, like, I can't trust a coach anymore? Like Petrino, right? Like when he coached Lamar Jackson, that was like 10 years ago, right? Something like that. Petrino's what, like mid 60s probably? Like, is there a point where we're like, you know what? Like, sure, Petrino was great offensively with this scheme 10 years ago, but I can't trust that anymore. Like, is there, generally speaking, for a coach, is there a line of demarcation where, you can't be president anymore?
I think that it's a good guiding principle to some degree. I used to just draft Rich Rod players every single year, and one of my buddies had to pull me aside at one point, and he's like, "Dude, I think the game has passed Rich Rod by. Like, that's why it's not working for you anymore." I'm like, yeah, that's probably a valid point. But you drop down to CUSA and you can run your offense with your quarterback that can't throw, and everything's fine. So maybe that's what some of those guys need, right? Just move down a half a tier or whatever. By the way, did you see Zion Turner to Jacksonville State?
Literally was going to ask you about that.
Just incredibly Rich Rod. Like, we don't care if this guy knows what a forward pass is. Like, he's running the offense. But I mean, I agree. Largely, I agree with, like, it's a consideration. I think that it's valid. Like, a lot of these guys have their systems. It's worked for them for so long. They're probably not necessarily interested in moving away from what has worked for them.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Like, Rich Rod's a great example, actually, because like Andrew, like, you always knew if you grabbed some Rich Rod guys, you were probably going to be pretty successful. And then it kind of just, the game passed him by. I don't know if that's the way I would put it, but I think the game's evolved, and he just kind of,
he's not evolving as fast as the game is.
Right. That's kind of the way it goes.
Do we think, though, that, like, there is some value? Like, do you think Zion Turner is worth, one, a pick, and two, do you think there's other assets on the team? Like, running back seemed pretty cool once they figured out kind of who they wanted to pound, right?
I still think Smothers takes the opening snap.
I was going to ask you if you thought Smothers was a problem.
When I was compiling, like, QB depth chart stuff over the last couple of weeks, I spend way too much time on Jacksonville State because so they have that dude Ashton Fry or whatever his name is, who came in because everyone got concussed one game, and he's underclassman, and he just does not look like a Rich Rod quarterback at all. And so, like, this dude is not running. He's never, like, the only way he's running is backward to take a sack. So the skill set, but, like, he could sling it around. It's just funny watching. And then who they have that dude, Tayshaun Smoot, still around. Like, people were high on him during his freshman year or whatever. Like, I guess he's like a pretty high level recruit or whatever, and has, like, Rich Rod type skills. But even, like, what if Logan Smothers doesn't have that garbage half that ultimately got him benched for Zion Webb? It looked like he had taken the job from Webb, and, like, you look at the game logs and the intra game logs, and it looks like there's a 2 QB system somewhat here, but I don't think it's really that at all. I think that, like, guys got hurt, like, as is going to be the case in a Rich Rod offense, right? You're running your quarterback 20 plus times a game. He's going to take shots. And he was, credit to him, with understanding that, like, hey, I can't just ride this guy if he's completing 20% of his passes or whatever. And I guess the quarterbacks were close enough where made a gut call to go back from Smothers to Webb, and then just let Webb kind of do his thing for most of the rest of the year. So I think it's, like, I don't think that I would approach Jacksonville State quarterback room this year through the lens of like, oh, it's going to be a 2 QB system. The big question is more so like, any QB in that room separate? And I think Logan could be that dude. Like most guys in this room, he could be a little better passer, but I think he's not a non-zero as a passer. And I think, I don't know, he's looked very Rich Roddy when he uses his fleet feet, if you will. I really thought they brought in another JUCO kid. I thought I saw like they got some big time JUCO commit, but I can't find anything on it now. So it's possible I just dreamed it up in a nightmare where I thought that Smothers was losing his job, but for the best. If the competition is Zion Turner, who crested the 100-yard mark, I think 3 or 4 times when he started 12 games as a freshman, I'll be okay with that. As a protector of Logan Smothers dynasty stock.
Interesting. I'm just looking at their roster. They got Jameer Joyner too.
Yeah. He's in year 12. He's still doing nothing.
And he has quarterback eligibility. So in case you were worried about another guy taking the job. Also, just kind of flipping here, I was just looking at the transfer portal because that's a thing. And Mario Williams committed to Tulane.
Who's the other big time receiver they got? They got 2.
Tulane?
Yeah.
I can get it here in a second. I do remember what you're talking about. It's like,
give me a second.
Who is it?
Was it an LSU kid? That's too easy. I don't think it was. There was someone sick.
I'm in the wrong conference. What am I doing?
The Mario stuff is interesting. Like, Shaz Preston. The Mario stuff is interesting. I don't know. I'm not in on it. Kai Horton's probably the quarterback, and I don't know. Tulane's always kind of spread it around, but new coaching staff. So how do they play their offense? I don't consider Mario like that much of a he's more of a big name just because he played at Oklahoma and USC than he actually was a big name for production. So I'm probably off on him, and except maybe like a dart throw towards the end, but it is an interesting transfer, right? Like you see this big name, big recruit, big schools, and he concedes and goes to Tulane. It is interesting. Shaz Preston, maybe more interesting because he's younger and maybe he hasn't produced because he just is younger. But I don't know. There's a lot to wonder about there.
They also got to commit Rhino. Do I know?
Did you recall the quarterback that they brought in through the portal?
Tulane?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ty Thompson.
Yeah. Who is their OC? Because I just imprint on them the Troy coach that they hired, but he wasn't calling plays. He was more defense, and they're
Chip Long, I think. Is that who it is?
Chip Long, yeah.
No,
really?
Hold on.
Well,
no, I don't think so.
That's Southern Miss. No, it's Slade Nagel.
Slade Nagel.
Are they keeping him around?
I'm just Googling stuff right now.
Okay.
Football promotes Slade Nagel to offensive coordinator. That was into January.
That would be so odd, right? If the new coach, I guess Summerall, did he have Troy roots? I can't remember. I can't keep track of this stuff, but not Troy roots, Tulane roots. I feel like he did work on staff previously, but it still feels odd that he's just going to promote OC from within. Why is that? So I hear that name Slade Nagel, and I feel like it resonates with me historically, but then I look back at his path through life and I'm like, I don't remember this dude at any of the stops. Does he just have a flashy name? And it sounds like a cartoon character?
That's got to be it. Because me personally, I've never once thought about Slade Nagel in my life.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Slade Bolden. That might be it.
Maybe.
Quite possible.
Yeah.
His biggest job prior to this was OC at Texas State in 2009 or 2010. So
word.
Yeah. I don't know, he was at McNeese State for a while, but interesting. But I wanted to bring that up because they were talking about, of course, the rumor mill when Malachi went to Boise. They're saying, well, maybe they'll bring Mario too because they need a receiver. And that didn't happen, clearly. But That would have probably been pretty nice because they clearly need a receiver, but his expectation level wouldn't have been USC, Oklahoma. It would have been Boise State, and then you can thrive in a situation like that.
This feels like definitely a better fit for Mario. I just don't know, like who are the late receivers that are being picked? It'll be interesting to see when we start drafting here in a couple months, like what those names are, because there are a lot of things going for him, right? Like pedigree. There were some big games. He's got a lot of experience in snap played. So we'll see. I mean, it is an interesting thought in both places. I'm glad he didn't go to Boise because Cam Camper stays alive.
Right.
That would only make things messy for.
Well, that was before Camper committed. That was kind of floated out there. I was looking at something else in the portal, but was there anything else you guys wanted to discuss? Chris, I don't think I got your worst transfer.
My worst was Judkins.
Okay, your best. Yeah. Okay, it was your best.
My best was Cam Camper.
I guess you're right.
You've lost your touch,
I have.
You haven't showed up in a month.
You're right.
And you took the holidays hard and come out cold. It's fine. It's a new year.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up here then. Unless there's something else you guys wanted to discuss.
I mean, these guys got 2 episodes in 1 week. I think we can take like the rest of the month off. So
yeah, we're good.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I can't guarantee all 3 of us will be back on the next one, but there will be a form of one probably in the next week or so. So until then, see you guys later.